Welcome back to Roxham TV. I'm your host, Jamie. Hope you're having a great day wherever you're tuning in from. We've got a lot of interesting stories to go through today, and we are going to be covering everything from Bitcoin to AI, macroeconomics, and one of the most anticipated IPOs in financial history. Let's start with the story that everybody on Wall Street is watching right now. SpaceX is expected to go public within hours, and the numbers are absolutely massive. The company is reportedly targeting a valuation of around $1.8 trillion, which would make this the largest IPO ever and potentially push Elon Musk toward becoming the first trillionaire of the world. But here's the question I'll be asking today. Is SpaceX actually worth the price? Or are we starting to see signs that the AI trade is becoming a little too crowded? Over the past few months, we've watched AI stocks exploded higher, billions of dollars flow into data centers, and investors rush into anything connected to artificial intelligence. Yesterday, during my interview with Andy Lean, we talked about the possibility of an AI bubble. And today, we're going to continue that conversation because while I think AI is absolutely real, I also think investors need to be careful when hype starts moving faster than reality. We'll break down the SpaceX IPO, why some analysts think it's worth far less than the IPO valuation, and why I'm personally staying on the sidelines. Then we shift gears and look at the latest inflation numbers coming out of the United States. Inflation has jumped highest to 4.2%, the highest reading we have seen in more than 3 years. Oil prices continue to rise because of the conflict in the Middle East, and now investors are wondering whether the Federal Reserve can still cut interest rates. We'll also talk about what this means for market, Bitcoin, and the economy going forward. After that, we've got a fascinating AI story. Visa has partnered with OpenAI to allow AI agents to actually spend money on your behalf. Imagine asking ChatGPT to book a flight, order groceries, or buy something online. And instead of just recommending options, it actually completes the purchase for you. Sounds very convenient, right? But would you trust an AI with your own wallet? We'll talk about what Visa is building and why this could be one of the biggest AI payment stories we have seen so far. On the crypto side, Japan might be preparing one of the most important crypto policy changes in years. Lawmakers are considering a proposal that could slash crypto taxes from as high as 55% down to 20%, while also opening the door for Bitcoin ETFs. If passed, it could make Japan one of the most crypto friendly major economies in the world. We'll also take a look at El Salvador. While many countries are still debating Bitcoin, El Salvador has spent the last few years quietly building, not just buying Bitcoin, but actually investing in education, regulation, technology, and now even artificial intelligence. We'll discuss why the country is increasingly become a case study for what long-term conviction can actually look like. And at the end of the show, we have a guest that I'm personally really looking forward to speak with. His story is that unlike almost anyone else in the crypto industry, he went from spending 3 years in prison in Thailand, losing virtually everything, to rebuilding his life from scratch, becoming a bestseller author, earning a place on the Forbes 40 under 40 list, and building a promising crypto payments and fintech companies in the space today. His name is Jonathan Lowe, founder and CEO of Biptap. We'll talk about prison, redemption, entrepreneurship, Bitcoin, and what it really takes to rebuild your life after hitting rock bottom. And trust me, you are going to want to stick around for that conversation. So that's a lot to go through. Let's actually jump into the first story of the day. Of course, we have to talk about SpaceX because we are just a few hours away from one of the biggest IPOs in financial history. So SpaceX is expected to go public today. The company is looking to raise around $75 billion and is targeting a valuation of roughly $1.8 trillion. If successful, it could become the largest IPO ever, and it could make Elon Musk the first trillionaire of the world. But while excitement is everywhere, I think it's important that investors take a step back and look at the bigger picture because right now, the amount of hype around AI and SpaceX is starting to feel a little bit uncomfortable, if you ask me. So think about like everything we've talked about over the past few weeks. Three of the largest AI companies going public this year. So they are OpenAI, Anthropic, and SpaceX, of course. Meta is also building a massive AI center like around the world. India is spending over $100 billion on AI infrastructure. Every major company seems to be raising money, building some sort of data centers, and launching AI projects. And that's exactly what happens during every major technology boom. Money starts flooding into the sector, valuation keeps rising, investors become convinced that growth will last forever, and eventually people will stop asking whether the price actually makes sense. So, what's interesting for SpaceX is that SpaceX is no longer just selling rockets and satellites. I think we all know that. The AI story is becoming a major part of that pitch. In its IPO filings, SpaceX talks extensively about AI infrastructure. The company claims it could eventually generate up to $26.5 trillion of revenue opportunities from AI related business. So let me repeat that $26 trillion. That's larger than the entire US economy today. Well, the problem is, most of their business doesn't even exist yet. Much of the valuation depends on future projects like orbital AI data centers and space based computing infrastructure. That is certainly an interesting idea, but it's not so much a proven business yet. So the valuation is raising a lot of eyebrows, like even some Wall Street analysts are struggling with the numbers. At a $1.8 trillion valuation, SpaceX would be worth more than most public companies on Earth. Yet the company is still losing money. According to reports, SpaceX posted losses in 2025 and in the first quarter of 2026. Morningstar estimates the company might be worth closer to $780 billion. That's less than half of the IPO valuation. So investors need to ask themselves, am I investing in the business that exists today? Or am I investing in a dream of what this company might become 10 years from now? Because that is a massive difference. So, yesterday on my show, during my interview with Andy Lean, we talked quite a bit about the possibility of an AI bubble. And honestly, I think that's the right conversation to have. Now, does it mean AI is a scam? That's not what I'm saying. I do not think so. Just like the internet wasn't a scam back in the year 2000, the internet changed the world, and AI will probably change the world as well. But even revolutionary technologies can experience bubbles. Sometimes the technology is real. The problem is investors simply paying maybe a little bit too much money at this current point. And here's the interesting part. Like personally, I don't think the AI bubble popped before these IPOs happen. Because think about it. We have OpenAI, like Wall Street has OpenAI. Wall Street still has Anthropic, and Wall Street obviously still has SpaceX. There is still too much money waiting to enter these stories. Too much demand, too much excitement, too much FOMO. Historically speaking, bubbles often grow larger before they finally burst. The final stage is usually when everyone becomes convinced that prices can go up only. We are not necessarily there yet, but we are definitely seeing signs of extreme optimism. So, my answer to the SpaceX IPO is that I'm going to be careful, especially for the IPO. I'm staying away. Not because SpaceX is a bad company. I actually think SpaceX is one of the most impressive companies ever built. The problem isn't the company. The problem is the price. A great company can still be a terrible investment if you pay too much for it. And right now, investors are being asked to pay a premium based on future dreams, future AI revenue, future space infrastructure, and future technologies that haven't been proven yet. Could SpaceX eventually justify the valuation? Absolutely, but a lot of things need to go right And when expectations get this high, perfection becomes the minimum requirement. So for me, this IPO is more than just SpaceX. It's becoming a symbol of where we are in the AI cycle. Like everyone wants exposure, everyone wants to find the next Nvidia, and that's exactly why investors need to stay disciplined. The AI revolution is absolutely real. The technology is real, but that doesn't automatically mean every AI related investment is worth any price. As SpaceX begins trading, investors should remember one simple rule: a great company and a great investment are not always the same thing. And sometimes the best opportunities come after the hype cools down, not when it is at its peak. All right, so that is my take when it comes to SpaceX. Let me know, you guys, if you participate in the pre-IPO on Hyperliquid or other platform. So, switching from the most hype IPO to the whole macro economy, we have to talk about the US inflation rate. So, US inflation is moving higher once again. The new data shows consumer prices rose 4.2% year over year. That's up from 3.8% in April and 3.3% in March, and just like 2.4% back in January. In other words, inflation has almost doubled in only 5 months. And this is now the highest inflation reading the US has seen since April 2023. So the big question is inflation coming back, or is it just a temporary shock caused by the war of Iran? So when we dig deeper under the hood, most of the inflation increases, of course, it comes from energy prices. Remember, we have now been dealing with the Iran conflict for about 3 months. Oil markets have been under so much pressure, and gasoline prices across the United States are now at the highest level since 2024. That's showing up directly in the inflation data. Higher oil prices mean higher transportation costs. Higher transportation costs mean higher prices throughout the economy, and consumers are starting to feel the pain. Now, here's the interesting dynamic because, this is so the CPI is the headline inflation, but if we take a look at the core inflation, which removes food and energy prices, so in May 2026, we're actually just 2.9%. Well, that's of course above the Fed's target, but is nowhere near as alarming as the 4.2% headline number. And that's an important distinction because it tells us that this isn't a broad inflation problem across the entire economy, at least not yet. Instead, most of the pressure is coming from energy. The market is basically saying this looks more like an oil shock than an overheating economy, and that's a very different situation for the Federal Reserve. What's surprising is that Donald Trump doesn't seem concerned by the numbers. In fact, he is actually welcoming them. So let's actually take a look of what he said now.
Are you concerned, Mr. President, about the latest inflation number which came out this morning? Could that be a
No, I love it. The numbers were great. You know what I really love? I love the inflation. You know why? Because as soon as this war is over,
All right, so what's surprising is that Donald Trump doesn't seem concerned by the numbers. In fact, he actually is so welcome. So he spent months publicly pushing for lower interest rates. He's repeatedly argued that the Federal Reserve should cut rates to support growth. At one point, he even joked that a third grade student would know rates should be lower. So despite inflation moving higher, the White House is still focused on getting rates down. So that brings us to the Federal Reserve. Like next week, it will be especially important because the new Fed chair, Kevin Walsh, is about to lead his first policy meeting. And investors are watching this very closely. Kevin Walsh is generally seen as more open to rate cuts than former chair Jerome Powell, but now he faces a very difficult test. So inflation is now at 4.2%. That's more than double than the Fed's long-term target. So if he cut rates too quickly, the market might worry inflation gets worse. If keep rates high, you risk slowing the economy. So this is not an easy task for Kevin Bush. And now let's not forget, because right now the market isn't just watching inflation. We are watching credibility. If inflation keeps rising and the Fed still cut rates aggressively, investors might begin questioning whether inflation is still under control. On the other hand, if it turns out to be mostly an energy driven shock and oil prices stabilize, inflation could cool down again later this year. And that's why the next week's Fed meeting is shaping up to be one of the most important meetings of 2026 so far, because the decision won't just affect interest rate. It could tell us a lot about where the US economy is headed for the rest of the year. All right, so we will take a short break from here. When we come back, of course, we have to take a look at AI because right now, another giant is entering the AI realm. Of course, I'm referring to Visa, being one of the biggest payments companies out there. Right now, they're building AI agent with surprisingly ChatGPT. So if you know the details, make sure to stick with us after the break.
This is Alex. Alex spends most of his time thinking like a trader, still deciding what to do with his Bitcoin. While Alex waits for the perfect entry, this is Laura. She's watching the S&P drop. Everyone is suddenly a macro expert. She doesn't panic. This is Tom. No screens, no noise, no stress. While Tom focuses on his swing, his Bitcoin focuses on compounding. Because Bitcoiners don't want more dollars. They want more Bitcoin.
I want more Bitcoin.
The best move is letting your Bitcoin work while you plan the next one. Grow by Roxum. One currency, one place.
Welcome back to Roxham TV, and thanks for sticking around with us after the break. We now are diving back into the AI world, so I want you guys to imagine this. Imagine asking ChatGPT to book a flight, order groceries, buy office supplies, or even plan a vacation for you. Not just recommend it, but actually pay on your behalf. That's exactly what Visa is trying to make possible. So Visa announced a new partnership with OpenAI that will allow AI agents to make purchases on behalf of users. And honestly, this could be one of the biggest AI payment stories we have seen so far. So here's the simplified version of how it works. So let's just say you tell ChatGPT, oh, book me the cheapest flight to New York next week. Today, ChatGPT might help you search for flights, but you still have to go to the website, enter your payment details, and click buy. Under this new system, the AI can do the entire transaction itself. So no extra clicks, no checkout page, no typing in your credit card details. The AI can simply complete the purchase for you. Now, obviously, the first question everyone asks is, why would I let an AI to spend my own money? So Visa said users remain in control. So before the AI can make purchases, you get to set the rules. So for example, you can set the spending limit. You can set which purchases need approval, which purchases can happen automatically. The AI can only operate within those boundaries. and Visa enforced those rules directly on the payment network. Even more importantly, Visa says your actual card number is never shared with the AI. Instead, the system used tokenized credentials. So think of them as temporary payment tokens that are tied to a specific agent and a specific transaction. The AI never learns or see your real card details. But here's still a big concern. Like what happens if the AI orders something wrong, right? It's something you don't want in the first place or books the wrong flight. Visa says refunds will continue working exactly the same way they do today. So consumers can still keep the protections they are already used to. If something goes wrong, you're simply not you aren't simply out of luck because an AI clicked the button. So this is part of a larger initiative called Visa Intelligent Commerce. The goal is pretty simple here. Visa wants to become the default payment network for AI agents. Just like Visa became the default network for online payments, it now wants to become the default network for AI driven payments. Because if AI agents become mainstream, somebody needs to process those transactions, and Visa wants to be that company. And what's more interesting is that Visa is moving very fast. So far, neither MasterCard nor American Express has announced something similar, so a partnership with OpenAI. That gives Visa a head start in what could become an entirely new category of commerce. And if AI agents become a normal part of daily life, Visa could end up owning a huge piece of that future. Now, here's the part that I think is more interesting. Like, would you actually trust your AI to spend money on your behalf? Because OpenAI hasn't really explained how an AI agent decides between merchants. Let's say you are booking a flight. Will the AI always choose the cheapest option, or could certain merchants eventually pay for placement? After all, that's basically how Google search have worked for years. Sponsor results often appear first. The difference is that on Google, you still choose which link to click. With AI agents, the AI might be making that choice for you. And that's where things gets really interesting. Because once AI starts spending money on your behalf, trust becomes everything. And that's another piece of the story that crypto investors should really pay attention to. Visa also revealed that its stablecoin settlement programs are now approaching a $7 billion annualized run rate. Stablecoin settlements are already operating across 9 different blockchains. So think about what's happening here. On one side, AI agents are learning how to spend money. On the other side, stablecoins are becoming a faster way to move money around. Eventually, those two worlds start meeting. AI power commerce and crypto power payments. That convergence might end up being one of the biggest financial trends of the next few years. And today's Visa's announcement could be an early glimpse of what that future looks like. So let me know in the comment section below, will you let an AI agent to handle all of your grocery bills or even book a flight for you? Let's have a discussion. But we have to move on to the next story of today. So we have to talk about Japan. Japan might be preparing for one of the biggest crypto policy changes we've seen in years. Lawmakers are moving forward with new legislation that would officially treat cryptocurrencies more like TradFi's or traditional financial assets. And if approved, it could make investing in Bitcoin and crypto much more attractive for Japanese investors. So what's changing is that right now, crypto in Japan falls under the country's Payment Service Act. That means regulators largely view crypto as a payment tool. But under the proposed changes, cryptocurrencies would be moved under Japan's Financial Instruments and Exchange Act. In simple terms, Bitcoin and other digital assets would be treated more like stocks or bonds and other investment products. The proposal was already approved by a key committee in Japan's House of Representatives and is now moving through the next stages of the legislative process. So for many investors, the biggest challenge right now isn't regulation, is the insanely high tax in Japan. Today, crypto profits in Japan can be taxed as high as 55% once national and local taxes are combined. That's one of the highest crypto tax rates in the developed world. Under the new proposal, crypto gains would instead be taxed at a flat 20% capital gain rate. That's much closer to how stocks are taxed, and that is a huge difference. Imagine making 100K in crypto profits. Under the current system, more than half of that go to taxes. But under the new system, investors would keep a significant, larger chunk compared to before. The proposal could also open the door for cryptocurrency ETFs in Japan. That's important because ETFs make it easier for traditional investors to gain exposure to Bitcoin without having to manage wallets or private keys or opening an account on crypto exchanges. We have already seen how successful Bitcoin ETFs have been in the United States. Japan might now be moving in a similar direction. The new framework could also lead to more crypto investment products becoming available in the future. And Japan's tax rules have always have been one reason why some investors chose indirect Bitcoin exposure instead of buying Bitcoin directly. So companies like Metaplanet became popular partly because investors could gain Bitcoin exposure through a publicly traded stock. Now, just to say this, Metaplanet's success isn't just about taxes. There are many reasons investors have been interested in the company, but Japan's high crypto tax rates certainly play a role here. For some investors, buying shares was simply easier and more tax efficient than holding Bitcoin directly. So this isn't just about lower rates, it's about how Japan views crypto. For years, regulators mainly treated Bitcoin as a payment technology. Now they are starting to treat it as a legitimate financial asset, and that is a major shift. And it shows how governments around the world are becoming more comfortable with digital assets. If the legislation passes, Japan could become one of the most crypto-friendly major economies in the world. And for Bitcoin holders, that's another sign that adoption continues to move forward at the highest levels of finance and also government. So speaking of another government around the world that is fully adopting Bitcoin, of course, we have to talk about El Salvador. So here's the context. So when Senator Cynthia Lummis posted this week that nations should be accumulating Bitcoin openly and by law, a lot of people immediately thought about one country, being El Salvador. Because while many governments are still debating Bitcoin, El Salvador has been buying it for years and they've been doing it publicly. So let's go back to November 2022. So what happened is that FTX collapsed, fears were everywhere. Bitcoin was trading around 16K. Most investors were panicking. Like many thought crypto would just finish. Well, Bitcoin is done. But that's when the president of El Salvador made one of the most famous announcements in Bitcoin history. He said, "We are buying one Bitcoin every single day starting tomorrow." At the time, critics call it insane, they call it reckless. Many said El Salvador was gambling with public money. Fast forward to today, Bitcoin is roughly 400% higher than it was back then, and El Salvador never stopped stacking. But here's the interesting twist: the Bitcoin purchases were only part of the story, because while the world was focused on Bitcoin's price, El Salvador was quietly building something even bigger. The country introduced Bitcoin education programs. Today, children as young as 7 years old are learning about Bitcoin and financial literacy. The government has also created a regulatory environment designed to attract entrepreneurs and investment. There is currently no capital gain tax on Bitcoin or digital assets, and the country continues exploring new financial infrastructure, including plans for the Bitcoin-focused banking system. So this is not just about holding Bitcoin, it's about building an entire ecosystem around it. And here's where the the story gets even more interesting. Like El Salvador isn't only focusing on Bitcoin anymore. It also, okay, we go back to the news, it also becoming increasingly active in artificial intelligence. So according to a recent report highlighted by El Salvador's National Bitcoin Office, the country received a perfect score of 100 out of 100 for legal AI initiatives. It also ranks number 1 in Latin America for open source quality. And government agencies are already deploying AI tools across different departments. So what they said is that they highlighted partnerships involving Google Cloud, XAI, and Nvidia-backed infrastructure projects. That's pretty impressive for a country that many people used to dismiss as some Bitcoin experiment. So for years, critics focus almost entirely on Bitcoin's volatility. I mean, I see where that's coming from. Like they watch the price chart, they watch the bear market, and they assume the experiment would fail. But while everyone was debating the price, El Salvador was investing in education, investing in technology, and it was building long-term infrastructure around both Bitcoin and AI. Whether you agree with every policy or not, it's difficult to ignore what they have accomplished. Because today, El Salvador is no longer just part of the Bitcoin conversation, it's becoming part of the AI conversation as well. And that's something very few countries can say right now. So the lesson here isn't really about El Salvador, it's about conviction. When Bitcoin was at 16K, most people were focused on survival. I mean, it was a very scary time to enter the market, not gonna lie. El Salvador was focused on building though. When everyone else was debating whether Bitcoin would make it, they were already thinking about education, regulation, investment, and now even AI. Time will tell whether every bet would pay off, but one thing for sure though, El Salvador isn't waiting for the future, they are trying to build it. So I'm liking what I see, but we have to take a quick break. But make sure don't go away because when we come back, we have someone I'm personally really looking forward to speak with. Our next guest has one of the most incredible comeback stories I have heard in crypto industry. He went from hitting rock bottom and spending 3 years inside prison in Thailand to rebuilding his life, making the Forbes 40 under 40 list, becoming a best-selling author, and now building one of the most promising crypto payments and fintech companies helping people around the world. His name is Jonathan Lowe, founder of Biptap. We're going to talk about his journey, the lessons he learned from prison, how he rebuilt everything from scratch, and his views on Bitcoin and the future of finance. So trust me, this is a conversation you don't want to miss. We'll be right back after the short break.
Some call me Chicken Little, others Bubble Boy. I'm a bit changed, but sounds familiar, right? Let me tell you a hard truth. The S&P isn't rising, the dollar's falling. That's the trick, monopoly money. It's ice melting by the second. Your savings, your salary, your time. Worth less every second. Everyone's using the wrong measuring stick. Switch the denominator. Price the S&P into Bitcoin. Hard, fixed, unprintable. Suddenly your unstoppable index, it's collapsing. And while you cling to dollars, well, Wall Street already switched. Before, you needed 2 brokers.
Still getting my ninja bonus though, right?
Plenty of spreadsheets. And my quant!
I hate this part.
I was right, and I'll be right again. If I were you, I'd thank me.
You know my name's Dave, right?
Security matters. Zappo Bank. The only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
So, tell us about your furry friend here. What's his name?
Oh, this? This is Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
It's not just a cat, he's family.
Quite a name, and I must say, looks quite pampered.
Oh, absolutely. Bitcoin deserves nothing but the best. He's my little prince.
But with such a valuable pet, aren't you afraid of losing him?
Losing Bitcoin? No, it never happened before, so it's not something I worry about. Excuse me for a moment. Bitcoin, stay here, right?
Bitcoin, no! Bitcoin, come on, little buddy, Bitcoin, I need you, don't go!
This is Alex. Alex spends most of his time thinking like a trader, still deciding what to do with his Bitcoin. While Alex waits for the perfect entry, this is Laura. She's watching the S&P drop. Everyone is suddenly a macro expert. She doesn't panic. This is Tom. No screens, no noise, no stress. While Tom focuses on his swing, his Bitcoin focuses on compounding. Because Bitcoiners don't want more dollars. They want more Bitcoin.
I want more Bitcoin.
The best move is letting your Bitcoin work while you plan the next one. Grow by Roxum. One currency, one place.
How about stretch preferred stock on Roxum? Receive 11.5% monthly cash dividends paid in Bitcoin.
11.5% paid in Bitcoin? How is that possible?
It's real. Stretch dividends on Roxum gives 11.5% monthly cash dividends paid in Bitcoin.
Dang! I want everyone pitching Roxum to your clients. Corporate traders, asset managers, old, young, Stretch on Roxum is for everyone.
Now that's a birthday gift. 11.5% in Bitcoin.
We are in heaven at 11.5. 11.5%. 11.5%.
Some call me Chicken Little, others Bubble Boy. I'm a bit changed, but sounds familiar, right? Let me tell you a hard truth. The S&P isn't rising, the dollar's falling. That's the trick, monopoly money. It's ice melting by the second. Your savings, your salary, your time. Worth less every second. Everyone's using the wrong measuring stick. Switch the denominator. Price the S&P into Bitcoin. Hard, fixed, unprintable. Suddenly your unstoppable index, it's collapsing. And while you cling to dollars, well, Wall Street already switched. Before, you needed 2 brokers.
Still getting my ninja bonus though, right?
Plenty of spreadsheets. And my quant!
I hate this part.
I was right, and I'll be right again. If I were you, I'd thank me.
You know my name's Dave, right?
Security matters. Zappo Bank. The only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
So, tell us about your furry friend here. What's his name?
Oh, this? This is Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
It's not just a cat, he's family.
Quite a name, and I must say looks quite pampered.
Oh, absolutely. Bitcoin deserves nothing but the best. He's my little prince.
But with such a valuable pet, aren't you afraid of losing him?
Losing Bitcoin? No, it never happened before, so it's not something I worry about. Excuse me for a moment. Bitcoin, stay here, right?
Bitcoin, no! Bitcoin, come on, little buddy, Bitcoin, I need you. Don't go.
This is Alex. Alex spends most of his time thinking like a trader, still deciding what to do with his Bitcoin. While Alex waits for the perfect entry, this is Laura. She's watching the S&P drop. Everyone is suddenly a macro expert. She doesn't panic. This is Tom. No screens, no noise, no stress. While Tom focuses on his swing, his Bitcoin focuses on compounding. Because Bitcoiners don't want more dollars. They want more Bitcoin.
I want more Bitcoin.
The best move is letting your Bitcoin work while you plan the next one. Grow by Roxum. One currency, one place.
How about stretch preferred stock on Roxum? Receive 11.5% monthly cash dividends paid in Bitcoin.
11.5% paid in Bitcoin? How is that possible?
It's real. Stretch dividends on Roxum gives 11.5% monthly cash dividends paid in Bitcoin.
Dang! I want everyone pitching Roxum to your clients. Corporate traders, asset managers, old, young, Stretch on Roxum is for everyone.
Now that's a birthday gift. 11.5% in Bitcoin.
11.5. We are in heaven at 11.5. 11.5%. 11.5%.
Some call me Chicken Little, others Bubble Boy. I'm a bit changed, but sounds familiar, right? Let me tell you a hard truth. The S&P isn't rising, the dollar's falling. That's the trick, monopoly money. It's ice melting by the second. Your savings, your salary, your time. Worth less every second. Everyone's using the wrong measuring stick. Switch the denominator. Price the S&P into Bitcoin. Hard, fixed, unprintable. Suddenly your unstoppable index, it's collapsing. And while you cling to dollars, well, Wall Street already switched. Before, you needed 2 brokers.
Still getting my ninja bonus though, right?
Plenty of spreadsheets. And my quant!
I hate this part.
I was right, and I'll be right again. If I were you, I'd thank me.
You know my name's Dave, right?
Security matters. Zappo Bank. The only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
So, tell us about your furry friend here. What's his name?
Oh, this? This is Bitcoin.
Bitcoin?
It's not just a cat, he's family.
Quite a name, and I must say looks quite pampered.
Oh, absolutely. Bitcoin deserves nothing but the best. He's my little prince.
But with such a valuable pet, aren't you afraid of losing him?
Losing Bitcoin? No, it never happened before, so it's not something I worry about. Excuse me for a moment. Bitcoin, stay here, right?
Bitcoin, no! Bitcoin, come on, little buddy. Bitcoin, I need you. Don't go.
This is Alex. Alex spends most of his time thinking like a trader, still deciding what to do with his Bitcoin. While Alex waits for the perfect entry, this is Laura. She's watching the S&P drop. Everyone is suddenly a macro expert. She doesn't panic. This is Tom. No screens, no noise, no stress. While Tom focuses on his swing, his Bitcoin focuses on compounding. Because Bitcoiners don't want more dollars. They want more Bitcoin.
I want more Bitcoin.
The best move is letting your Bitcoin work while you plan the next one. Grow by Roxum. One currency, one place.
How about stretch preferred stock on Roxum? Receive 11.5% monthly cash dividends paid in Bitcoin.
11.5% paid in Bitcoin? How is that possible?
It's real. Stretch dividends on Roxum gives 11.5% monthly cash dividends paid in Bitcoin.
Dang! I want everyone pitching Roxum to your clients. Corporate traders, asset managers, old, young, Stretch on Roxum is for everyone.
Now that's a birthday gift. 11.5% in Bitcoin.
We are in heaven at 11.5. 11.5%. 11.5%.
Some call me Chicken Little, others Bubble Boy. I'm a bit changed, but sounds familiar, right? Let me tell you a hard truth. The S&P isn't rising, the dollar's falling. That's the trick. Monopoly money. It's ice melting by the second. Your savings, your salary, your time. Worth less every second. Everyone's using the wrong measuring stick. Switch the denominator. Price the S&P into Bitcoin. Hard, fixed, unprintable. Suddenly your unstoppable index, it's collapsing. And while you cling to dollars, well, Wall Street already switched. Before, you needed two brokers.
Still getting my ninja bonus though, right?
Plenty of spreadsheets. And my quant!
I hate this part.
I was right, and I'll be right again. If I were you, I'd thank me.
You know my name's Dave, right?
Security matters. Zappo Bank. The only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
So, tell us about your furry friend here. What's his name?
Oh, this? This is Bitcoin.
Bitcoin?
It's not just a cat, he's family.
Quite a name, and I must say, looks quite pampered.
Oh, absolutely. Bitcoin deserves nothing but the best. He's my little prince.
But with such a valuable pet, aren't you afraid of losing him?
Losing Bitcoin? No, it never happened before, so it's not something I worry about. Excuse me for a moment. Bitcoin, stay here, right?
Bitcoin, no! Bitcoin, come on, little buddy. Bitcoin, I need you. Don't go.
This is Alex. Alex spends most of his time thinking like a trader, still deciding what to do with his Bitcoin. While Alex waits for the perfect entry, this is Laura. She's watching the S&P drop. Everyone is suddenly a macro expert. She doesn't panic. This is Tom. No screens, no noise, no stress. While Tom focuses on his swing, his Bitcoin focuses on compounding. Because Bitcoiners don't want more dollars. They want more Bitcoin.
I want more Bitcoin.
The best move is letting your Bitcoin work while you plan the next one. Grow by Roxum. One currency, one place.
How about stretch preferred stock on Roxum? Receive 11.5%.
All right, guys, welcome back to Roxum TV. As I mentioned before the break, I'm really excited about this next conversation. So our guest today has one of the most remarkable comeback stories you will hear in crypto and fintech industry. A few years ago, he was sitting inside a prison in Thailand, serving a 3-year sentence. Most people would have viewed that as the end of the story. So instead, it became the beginning of a completely new chapter. Since then, he has rebuilt his life, became a bestseller author, earned a spot on Forbes 40 under 40 list, and is now building Biptap, being a fintech and crypto payments platform, helping users access banking and financial services around the world. Today, we're going to talk about that journey, what prison taught him about resilience, and how he rebuilt from rock bottom, and his views on Bitcoin and crypto, and of course, the future of finance. So please join me in welcoming the founder and CEO of Biptap, so Jonathan Lowe. Jonathan, welcome to Roxum TV. It's great to have you with us today.
Hello, thank you so much. Thanks for having me here.
I mean, really excited to have this conversation with you because I'm not gonna lie, I have done like hundreds of interviews like this, but like this conversation, I do find I'm sure a lot of viewers would extract a lot of values learning from you as well. So, as I mentioned in the intro, you spent 3 years in a tough Thai prison. Then, just a few years after walking out with almost nothing, you made Forbes 40 under 40, became a best-selling author, and built a global fintech company. How is that even possible? So, take us straight into that prison chapter and the mindset shift that turned everything around so fast.
Well, I think this is something that I shared in my TED Talk recently. I believe a lot of people have a lot of limiting beliefs in their mind, and everyone who has been programmed by this system that the world has built is actually stuck in their own mental prison. So this is something that I've learned in prison actually, is that we are all in our own prison. And the only way we can achieve something huge and great is when you actually have to believe. Because a lot of people always assume that the only way to do a banking business is I have to work in a bank, I have to get a banking degree, I have to get finance degree, I need to slowly climb the steps. But what if I told you, if you really want to do a banking business, you can just learn from people who have done banking. So I mean, this is the biggest mindset shift that I learned from prison and in my journey of building Biptap. It's that a lot of the restrictions that we put ourselves, limitations, it's actually all inside, right? All we need to do is just really just work incredibly hard and just be humble and learn. I mean, this has been a very spiritual journey for me because, you know, as you said, coming out from prison to do something banking related, it's like a total opposite. And it's super difficult to get trust, right? But I believe one of the huge advantage that I got, and I want to share with the audience as well, is being very authentic. I think this is one of the huge step that I took that made my whole life trajectory change. Because I think when we met probably 2 years ago with Yuan and Patrice Evra, I think that was where I just started sharing about my prison. Because before that, when I was building my company, because I was trying to build my startup and it's crypto and banking related, it's so sensitive to talk about prison because a lot of people were trying to use my past to blackmail, to say, oh, I know about your past. But it's only when I started sharing my journey to people who really want to know, investors, partners. And then that's where people really see me for who I am. And then they started being very authentic with me and helping me with my journey. So I think these two things, mindset shifts that I learned, really helped me skyrocket my whole business and my personal journey.
I love that. That was really heartfelt. I mean, it takes a lot of courage of you to actually share that publicly. But like, walk me through the process. Like after you got out of prison, like yeah, you mentioned sometimes maybe you know the right person that have the relative experience in the banking industry. So like, how did you learn from these people? And after walking out of prison, how did you land did you start with a job in banking? But what was the process like to basically get to where you are?
Well, when I came out of prison, I literally started off from negative, below zero, because I was in debt. I was overspending in prison on money that I thought I had. And when I came out of prison, I didn't have my social media because 5 years was gone. I lost my emails, my Instagram, my Facebook, and also my phones and my laptops were confiscated, right? So that's where I couldn't even contact anyone that I wanted to, even when I had a business idea written on my vision board. But what I did was, I had two choices given to me by my family. Either I drive Grab, which is like the Uber, or go back to study so that I can get a decent job. Because in Singapore, probably same in Hong Kong, there's a stigma for people who go to prison, right? So, but I made the difficult choice. I decided to just trust myself and just do with what I had, which is I was running businesses in nightlife and model agency and a club in Singapore back in the days. And so I thought, let's just try it again. I mean, that's the only thing I knew and was good at back then. So I worked with a few partners, a few old friends to open a club in Malaysia. And that was my stepping stone to getting all my connections back, because within 3 months, I think the club did incredibly well. Maybe it was timing. And we became the #1 club in Johor Bahru, Malaysia in no time. And that's where all the connections and old friends and people start coming over from Singapore to Malaysia because it's just a bridge. They came over and that's where they found out that, oh, I'm back. I came back, and they started spreading. The news started spreading, and my connections started spreading. Because old friends introduced old friends, and I got my confidence back and everything. And we managed to enjoy that success for a month, and then COVID happened. So that's where the old chapter was closed. But then the new chapter begins. So I started off from a new zero with the connections that I needed. And that's where I explored Web3, NFTs, and I started this venture in 2022, roughly around 2022, 2023. And that's where Biptap was born.
So after prison, here's how I understand it. After prison, you're running some club in Malaysia, and turns out to be a very successful business ever. But like unfortunately, because of COVID, then something like unexpected happened. So like I kind of want to go back to that experience. So like during that club experience in Malaysia, when you first got out of prison, like did you invest into that club to get started with, or you were basically running the operation just to get into the club?
Okay, yeah, so good question. I had a few friends who were also in nightlife, and when they found out that I'm back, they're like, hey, we want to open a club in Malaysia. Do you want to join us? So they had investors, they had a few partners. So together, we opened this club together, a few shareholders to open a medium-sized club in Johor Bahru. And that's where we started. And back then, the salary that I drew, was so minimum. It was like $1,000 a month because it's like 3,000 Malaysian ringgit. But I decided to, because, it's either you chase education, you chase money, which is driving Grab, or chase opportunity, even though it's very little money, but it's an opportunity to get what I need, which was the connections, the confidence, the network again. So I decided to go with the third route.
That was very impressive. So, like, after making a little money and also knowing the right people from running a club in Malaysia, you hopped your toe into the crypto world. So, allow me to ask more questions about the crypto. Basically, what the first time you got into crypto world, what was the investment you got into? Did you buy your first Bitcoin after basically COVID? There's nothing to buy, might as well buy some Bitcoin, or you got your toes right into NFT world?
I believe I bought some Ethereum, Bitcoin, and back then I heard Solana was pumping. I cannot remember the price that I went in, but my friends introduced me Solana NFTs and Solana tokens, and I was doing some research, and I'm like, oh shit, Solana made so much money, and I did a swing trade. I bought, and immediately within a day, I sold and I made a
Wait,
few
what year is
$1,000s.
this again for Solana?
I can't remember. I'm not sure if it's 2002 or
Okay.
2023, but it was the Solana NFT bull run. Any NFTs that launched back then, everything made money. Every single
Wait,
project.
that should be 2021, right?
2021? Yeah, so around there. 2021 to
Okay.
2023, 22. Before I started my company, Biptap, in Seoul.
Wow, amazing. I mean, back in the NFT mania, I kind of have some experience as well, and I lost a little bit of money. And right now, I'm kind of staying away from NFT because like there's just too much pain. I might as well
Yeah.
just like buy Bitcoin and get some sleep at night. But like, tell me more about the NFT experience because I remember back in 2021, I was literally set up an alarm at 3 a.m. just to mint some NFT. So that's how degen I was back in the days because like I was everything was so hype. I thought I could just like close my eyes and choose an NFT and it'll do 100x. Like, walk me through your NFT process as well, your experience.
Exactly the same. I mean, I believe anyone who experienced a few wins from the Solana NFT bull run back then, everyone would do the same because it's literally not even speculation. Once you get the white list of the NFT launch, it's guaranteed a minimum 3 to 10x minimum, right? From Solana Monkey Business to DGod Mint to Soul Bears to a lot of projects. Every single NFT launch that was hyped as an influencer in the crypto space, as long as you have a whitelist, right? You're able to mint something, that NFT will be snatched by, for example, there's a supply of 1,000 to 5,000 NFTs, but there's 100,000 community members trying to mint it. So just to share with some people who didn't have the chance to experience this NFT bull run, once you have 1 to 3 spaces, let's say the mint is like 3 a.m. like you shared, to wake up at 2:45 a.m. just to sit there, open multiple browsers to click on the mint button, it's like, now thinking about it, it's like what do you call it, nostalgic, right? Because it's so fun. It's like, what do you call it, like even I mean it's very similar to like
Gambling.
gambling, or maybe like shoe special edition launch or ticket sales, like J-Cho ticket sales, something like that. There's limited supply and so big demand. So once you buy something, you mint it up, all you need to do is just sell it like 5 to 10x of the price that you minted it. Let's say you mint it at $50, you put it at $500. And quickly, because of the FOMO, people snap it up and you just make 10x. Easy $450 with a $50 investment. So I mean, that was the fun days.
Yeah, I mean, not gonna lie, I miss the how crazy it was back in 2021. Not just NFT, I could just like any GameFi token, I just like close my eyes and I get 100x, like any random token. But right
Yeah.
now, I mean, I don't think that cycle is gonna come back. But it's a good sign. That means crypto community is getting more mature, like there's more liquidity. So yeah, it's good and bad. But like, could I understand that as like so after prison, you got into the clubbing in Malaysia, and that's how you make the fast bucket of money, and then you go to NFT or crypto to flip that into 10x or whatever x. Is that the process how you create your wealth?
Uh, Not really. So I mean, the success gave me confidence, but we lost money because ultimately COVID happened right after we decided to expand and come back into Singapore to explore new opportunities. COVID happened, so it died, completely died. So that downfall was actually a launch pad to something bigger because then I realized, hey, because I wanted to say, as you all know, but not many people have been to prison. But as we all know, many people who have recovered from rock bottom, right? We all have our rock bottoms. Anyone who has recovered from their rock bottom know that, a close of a old chapter, it's actually a beginning of a new, right? So that actually gave me a kind of validation that, okay, I came out of prison, I spent 3 years in prison, I came out thinking that I'm lower than everyone else because I had nothing and I had a stigma. People know I came from prison, so like probably nobody really wants to work with me. But that just gave me validation that, hey, look, I think I'm actually so blessed that I now have the fire to want to prove to the world that I can do almost as good as everyone. And because of that fire that I built with that 3 years in prison, gave me a lot of unlimited energy when I'm doing any kind of business after prison. Like even for example, Biptap, right? In a span of 4 years, we bootstrapped our way from zero all the way to where we are now. We deployed 40 white labels all over the world, built banks for even government and presidents of Africa. It all came from just that drive to try to prove to everyone that, hey, even though I came from prison, I still can do something that everybody thought normal people couldn't. Right? So I think that gave me a lot of, in terms of ROI, not monetary value, but confidence and validation, I would say.
That is truly inspiring. I kind of want to ask you, how did you manage to go through that 3 years in prison? Like it should be really tough, and I'm sure a lot of people couldn't even take it. Like some would go through the extreme, I don't know, like extreme cases. They might not even want to live anymore. So, like, what is the secret sauce that you feel like, okay, I'm gonna be stronger after prison? Did you basically? I want to learn the strategy. Did you read a lot of books, or did you go to I don't know, like did you have any religious belief?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think it's a mixture of everything, because for sure during the first month it was a very shocking experience, because like I'm a Singaporean, and to be very honest, Singapore, US, UK, Canada, all these first world countries prison, it's gonna be like a 5-star hotel, right? And then you go to prisons like Indonesia, Thailand, Mexico, Colombia, it's gonna be completely different. So I watched a lot of prison movies in the past, but I didn't prepare myself from what I would experience when I went to prison. Like it's like a free for all, right? 500 to 800 people per block, 50 to 60 people per room with one toilet. There's no beds. Everyone's sleeping on the floor, side by side, shoulders sticking to each other. It's that bad. The only thing that got me through, that really helped me a lot, and to be honest, in my last year, I was really in bliss. I'll share why. Is meditation. I was praying and meditating every single day for 3 months straight when I stepped in prison after the first week. And then that's where I managed to find peace in chaos. I don't know how to explain this. Most people think that you can only find peace in nature or in silence. But the thing is, most people cannot even handle the noise in their head. But for me, it was totally surprising because I have ADHD, so I always have noises in my head. I have a lot of chaos in my head since young. But it was in chaos that actually allowed and forced me to find that peace within. Right? It forced me to create a filter to actually filter signal from noise. So all these skills that I learned in prison is actually the skills that I needed as a leader in the real world, which is signaling, filtering signal from noise in this world full of distractions. You know, this is something that I shared in my TED Talk as well. You can actually learn a lot of things in your rock bottom or in your darkness, whatever you're going through right now, whether it's battling cancer or battling a divorce or going through a divorce or loss of a family member or in prison or fighting a drug addiction. You can actually learn a lot of things from this journey. And that was what I learned. And of course, I read a lot of books in prison. One of them I really want to highly recommend, which is The Secret. That book changed my whole life because it was after I read that book, I started making a lot of mindset shifts. I started sharing these shifts with people in prison because 99% of the people in prison, they don't read, right? So after learning what I've learned in prison, in the books, I just shared what I learned and I started practicing it. I started growing a community. And that really shocked me because I thought people in prison, drug addicts, crazy people in prison, they just want to, kill, they just want to look cool, they just want to fight. But when I started sharing this and my goals in the future, I started building like a cult. I don't know. It's like we had like 50 to
That is
60
very
people.
impressive, though.
Yeah, that shocked me because you watch movies about prison, right? You need to be very fearless. You need to kill in prison. But I mean, of course, that's true. But there's also another kind of spiritual leadership, which I learned. You connect to people on a spiritual level. And then that's where people look at you and respect you based on your soul, based on who you really are, not who you were, not who you've killed, not how powerful you are in this country, whether you're in cartel or you're in a yakuza. People start to vibrate and match your frequency on a soul level. That's very powerful. So all this I learned from the books that I've read and also through this meditation process, which I think really helped me a lot right now in my whole personal and career growth through my journey after prison to what I am today, is that every time I go to a networking event or when I'm actually sharing about myself, the things that people ask all the time is, what do you do? What company are you working in? Which industry you're from? Something I learned from some spiritual leaders and coaches is, tell me your story. Because that question to me from our dear friend Yuan, right? That question actually opened up a whole bunch of opportunities when Yuan asked me, like, tell me your story. I want to know everything about your past. then that opens up a real connection. And then people don't care about money or where you're from anymore. And people want to help you fulfill your dreams without anything in return. So I mean, this lesson that I've learned helped me a lot in my whole journey. I mean, I truly believe, this is something I write in my book multiple times, that authenticity and being very authentic really goes a long way in terms of your personal journey.
I really, really like that. That was really heartfelt. I'm sure a lot of viewers would feel what I just felt hearing what you said. So yeah, that was a very heavy segment. But like what's really impressive is that after your prison time, you also landed on Forbes 40 under 40. So what was that moment like to you personally? Were you really surprised? And what was the process like? Did you just like all of a sudden you get a call from them? What was that like?
Well, to be honest, I mean, I don't want to sound very arrogant. I mean, it might feel arrogant to some people, but because I'm a big believer in law of attraction and manifestation. So I already had my TED talk on Forbes, all this on my vision board for a while. I had the word Forbes on my vision board for about a year. And the scary thing about it is, I just thought, I put the Forbes on my vision board for a long time, but nothing is happening. Maybe I should just do a visual, a graphic poster of my photo with Forbes. Maybe it will happen faster. And you know what's the most scary thing? I just sent my photo to my designer. I say, hey, create for me a Forbes magazine cover. I want to be on the cover of Forbes. And when he was sending me drafts to approve, I got a message from a friend. Hey, there's one slot to be on Forbes 40 under 40. Would you be interested if I submitted your profile? And I'm, oh wow, sure. So I sent my LinkedIn, I sent my profile. And before I actually put that poster in my vision board, I got approved. So that really helped and created a whole new wave of belief in the law of attraction right after this. Because, you know, again, I highly recommend reading The Secret and my book. I'll share the link below somewhere, because it is actually inspired by The Secret, using my life as an example, with what I've learned from The Secret and how I used that book to reflect on my book, and how the readers can use my life experience to do it for themselves. So that actually gave me a whole new perspective of power. Because imagine if I told you whatever that, I'm pretty sure a lot of people hear this a lot from famous people like Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, Cristiano Ronaldo, many other, Tiger Woods. A lot of them already believe that they will be the world champion, right? And they always close their eyes, they visualize themselves being the champion. It is that kind of visualization, to be able to speak it, to be able to write it, and to be able to put a picture to it and attach emotions after you feel you got what you wanted. That whole combination of feeling will actually bring your goals closer. I mean, I don't know. For people who don't believe in manifestation, I might sound crazy, but for those who get inspired, I highly recommend you try it. But yeah,
Well,
so
I just learned something that Forbes 40 under 40, you can just like submit an application and then wait for them to get a reply and whether the criteria met. I mean, that sounds very interesting. Could I try that one day, or how does that work?
I mean, why not? You never know. Just submit your name for 2027 all across the world, Asia, US, UAE. You never know that, if the thing is, I always thought it's impossible. Like, oh, maybe I have to be a
Me too.
billionaire or multi-millionaire for me to qualify. But after that, I have been just submitting everything to everything, to be a speaker everywhere, to be published everywhere. I send 5 submissions, maybe I get 0. I send 10, maybe I get rejected. But if I send 100, I guarantee you get at least 1. And that 1 could build up to 10. So that whole stacking of credentials and stacking of multiplication of a start of belief is something that I think this generation needs to know, because this generation, everyone just gives up after one try, right? I just submit one time, they reject me, oh, I'm not good enough. Just try 10 more times or 50 more times, right?
So just a follow-up question. So after being on Forbes 40 under 40, do you notice any change when people talk to you? Do you sense a little bit more respect when people talk to you because, oh, this guy is Forbes 40 under 40? Or did it actually help your business in any way?
Oh, 100%. Because unfortunately, in this modern world, social media and digital footprint, digital proof, branding is actually incredibly important, right? You could be a multi-millionaire, but if someone searches your name and they find nothing, unfortunately, they will just dismiss you and think that you're not that important. I mean, if you are already very contented and already retired, then of course, the ultimate goal is just privacy and freedom. But if you want to do more business globally, I believe having online credentials is very, very important in this world right now, more so than before, because there's so many scammers now. There's so many people trying to be someone that they're not. And with AI, with, I don't know, so many different tools, a lot of people can actually create a fake persona online to lie to people, to get investments, to get partnerships, to close deals, or to scam. So 100% with this Forbes title and credential, it helps a lot. I mean, this is one of the things that I share a lot as well, because I'm very big on branding in the last, I would say, 24 months, 2 years. On LinkedIn, I write a lot of articles on why branding is important, not just for personal, but for your company, right? Because if I always thought you have to be very successful in your company to be very credible personally. But what if I say that if your personal branding is strong, it could actually help to carry the success of your company, right? It's actually the other way around, because your company can fail, but your personal branding and online credibility will not. It will not disappear unless, of course, you scam people, right? So I believe a lot of people underestimate the power of branding, and that's where Forbes has helped, I would say, tremendously. Because fellow people on Forbes, as once they know that, oh, you're from in 2026, you're on Forbes, oh, me too, or we have a Forbes event, and it's like a filter of good quality people because it's filtered by Forbes. So yeah, I would say 100%. A lot has changed since every milestone, since Forbes, since my TEDx talk, since the launch of my book. Yeah, it's a milestone, stage by stage process.
Yeah, I mean, I really like that. And especially I really like the part when you mention, so when the success of the company, maybe not so tied to the company's marketing itself, maybe it's tied to the co-founder or the team itself. So like even for me, like when especially back in the days when I was so heavy in crypto, and by the way, I think Bitcoin is not crypto. It's a kind of like a different world. But like back in the days when I was doing different crypto analysis for a project, the first thing I look at is, of course, the team. Who is the founder? Are they credible? What's their reputation like? Have they rocked for any project? So I agree with you. So everything ties back to the founders, and I'm seeing so founders right now, I'm seeing a good trend that they're trying to build their credibility online as well. I agree with you. Like having the online presence is so important these days, especially in this day and age. And I do think the importance is just going to grow. It's not going to go the other way around. So, like Jonathan, everything we talk about so far, we talk about prison, we talk about rebuilding resilience. It feels like those experiences shaped the entrepreneur you became. So let's talk about Biptap, what you've been building today. So for viewers of Roxham TV who just heard about Biptap for the first time, what exactly is Biptap?
So I mean, we started off very different from what we are today. We started off providing crypto cards for people, right, that don't know how to spend their crypto in real life. Because I started off with a game guild with gaming scholars of Axie Infinity from Vietnam, Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, and we wanted to solve problems for them. And then we quickly realized that there's a lot of people that have communities like this. So we evolved into providing white labels for crypto cards. But then after that, we realized very quickly that, hey, everyone can be a crypto card provider. I believe crypto cards will be the future and there'll be competition everywhere. Let's look at the real reason why most people explore crypto. It's not because they want to invest in Bitcoin or Ethereum. Let's be real, right? A lot of people use crypto because they have less faith with their banks. They want to avoid crazy amounts of tax. They want to move funds across countries instantly, or rather they don't trust their local currency, right? There's multiple reasons. Or they want to operate their business more efficiently with stable coins because, bank transfer, currencies, all this, it's so fragmented. That's where we realized, hey, look, there's a huge gap in the market. Instead of trying to fight with the crypto market that is still a very, very small market cap of the world, right? Why not? We solve the problems, the real root of the problems that all these people are having. And then we realized there is a $1 trillion market cap industry gap that needs to be filled. And crypto falls in one of them, which is crypto, forex industry, gambling industry, adult industry, and also network marketing industry. Okay, all these 5 industries have the exact same problems. They have problems with banking because the regulators in different parts of the world cannot regulate because it's global users, right? So that's where we found the gap in the market and we started building banking infrastructure for them. And that's where we started getting a lot of traction because we realized like these people and these industries are so big, but they are so fragmented and they're so debanked. For example, I'm pretty sure if you're based in Hong Kong, there's also a lot of Hong Kong-based companies. You get licensed in Hong Kong, but if you grow too fast, they close your bank. Like how does that work? But I understand, the banks have too much risk because too much money involved, like too much money coming in, they close it. So that's where we realized, okay, instead of trying to be a bank and trying to solve the problems that the whole world cannot figure out how to solve. I mean, obviously, if the biggest 50 banks in the world can't solve this problem, who are we to solve it, right? So that's where we explored a whole new business model, which is the business model that worked the most in the whole world is like Amazon, Airbnb, Uber, right? These are platforms that Amazon, they don't own books anymore, right? Airbnb, they don't own a single property. Uber, they don't own a single car. But what do? They create a platform connecting houses to users. So they become the platform that links the marketplace of demand and supply. So that's where we explored this version of why not we just try to be the Airbnb for banking. We create a platform connecting banks to people or connecting banks to companies. allowing the company to actually set up their own banks or open bank accounts for their users through us, directly connected to the banks. So it started off as an experiment, and then once we went live, the market went crazy. All the white labels that we had, they're like, hey, we want this banking as a service infrastructure in our company. And then it slowly moved into country. That's where we actually closed our first deal in Central Africa. We actually signed a partnership with the president of Thank you. So we signed the partnership with the president of Central Africa as a pilot program to provide the country with our banking infrastructure to allow their citizens to open bank accounts. Because, you know, in Africa, I believe in crypto, a lot of people always say, we want to bank the unbanked, right? And a lot of people say, we want to onboard the next million users. But what if, to onboard the million users in crypto, instead of trying to think of how to create the new wallet and teach people how to onboard this crypto wallet, which they will never understand, the normal people will never understand, why not we create a whole omni banking solution with crypto embedded in it through account abstraction, chain abstraction, for the users to use what they're familiar the most, which is banking. Everyone in the world uses a bank. So that's where we created this whole omni banking solution, which is the world's first Airbnb for banking, where people can access a banking app connected to many, many banks all over the world with access to crypto as well. So that's a high-level summary of who Biptap was and who we are today. And to date,
Thanks for
yes.
sharing that. I do have some follow-up questions regarding the allowing banks to connect to all the bank accounts around the world. So, like, how does that process like? Like, do you Bittap still do KYC? And because it sounds like the regulators would put their eye on something like that. Is Airbnb for all the banks around the world, right? So like how is that like regulation part coming to the basically playing the role?
Yeah, very good question. Because this is something that all regulators ask. But because you see, you need a license, and there is huge risk if we are the ones doing the KYC, we are the ones approving the opening of the bank accounts, or rather, if we are the ones that hold custody of the funds. But the business model that we created is, for example, let's say you have set up a bank account in our platform, right? You actually do KYC through us, but that KYC is being submitted into the banks that you applied for. So you are actually applying a bank account directly, whether it's a bank in Laos, whether it's the bank in Lithuania, whether it's the bank in China or in Hong Kong. You are actually applying the bank account directly to the bank through us. And only when they approve, you will be given a bank account or a virtual card or a crypto card, whatever it is. And then you start spending your money through them, but using our app. We connect via APIs. We pull APIs of all these banks and card providers into one app. So that's where you as a user have access to multiple banks, different parts of the world, and we don't hold much security risk because we are not the
So how
one that.
many banks have you partnered with so far? Because it sounds like you have to build a network that all the banks have to join first. So who are the partners right now?
So right now we have 4 banks and financial institutions already connected. We are looking at having at least 10 in the next 12 months. Yeah.
Are these banks international? Who are these partners?
So for example, we have banking partners in Laos, we have banking partners in Hong Kong, card providers in Europe, we have card providers in Australia, we have a banking partner in in Luxembourg. So it's different card providers or different banks open access to the jurisdictions that they're allowed to operate. So for example, let's say you are from Hong Kong with a Hong Kong passport. you're allowed to open a bank account in these three products. So that's where you actually can open a bank account and crypto card with those three products in our app. But let's say you're from Russia. Russia, unfortunately, is not allowed in most of our providers, but there's one provider that allows limited access bank account for Russians, for example. So that's where we actually are creating like a Airbnb version, because we want to be the place where, for example, anyone who wants to open a bank right now, what do? You have to Google, you have to ask your friends. Like, it's almost impossible for anyone to open a bank without being in the country, right? So we want to be that solution where, let's say I'm from Russia. My bank account in Dubai got closed. What can I do? I type in how to open a bank account and we pop up, and they can now look at the list of bank accounts that we have and apply for the bank accounts that allow them access.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. So, like, what you just told me is not just from a retail perspective, opening a bank account, but like, countries around the world or companies around the world, they might need that access as well. So, tell me more about the white label infrastructure, because this is more like B2B, where viewers might not get much of an understanding because, like, for viewers out there, maybe we're just more like a retail perspective. So what is the white label infrastructure like that allows companies to launch their own omni banks?
So we target a lot of platforms, or rather a lot of companies with ready users, right? So for example, let's say you're a Forex platform, you have 50,000 users globally or 100,000 users globally. The biggest problem that all these platforms face, they are all the same, whether it's a gambling platform or whether it's a Forex platform. The biggest problems is giving the payouts to the players, to the traders. Let's say I'm a trader. I trade with this Australian-based brokerage. I put in 5,000. I make 500,000. Now, if I'm from Europe, I am in big trouble, because how am I going to withdraw my legitly traded profits into my Europe bank? Let's say I'm from Canada or I'm from Germany. If I withdraw this 500,000 from Australia bank into my German bank, I'm going to be fucked. My bank account is going to get frozen. I'm going to get taxed maybe 48% or 50%. It's a huge problem. And I will take weeks or months just to withdraw my profits from my Forex trading. Legit licensed crypto Forex trading. So what we provide is a whole omni banking solution where we build for them an omni banking solution for their platform, so that now this brokerage, you are able to allow your users to open a bank account under your management, but they don't hold custody of the funds. So what we are trying to create is, because we do a lot of research and we realize that the biggest downfall to a lot of companies is because, let's say there's 10 companies doing the same thing. The only way for them to get market share is to be competitive, right? It's basic market business. You need lower fees or faster transaction, or instant or more cashback. It's more taxing to the margins. But what if I say that the best way to retain customers and to grow is to create an ecosystem where your users don't leave you? So that's where we provide this solution for companies like that allows their users to now load their funds to trade, and they can now withdraw their profits within the same company and spend their money within the same bank, managed by the same company. That way your money doesn't leave your ecosystem. So that's the kind of solutions that we provide.
I do have more follow-up questions regarding the regulation though. So, because you mentioned like for the example that you give out, maybe like if you try to deposit into European banks, then you're going to get a lot of trouble because like the tight regulation. So like, does it mean you would filter out European customers from joining? Because if so, like if you allow European companies and also customers, like would you get into trouble? Or I don't know, because you mentioned Mika before. I'm not too familiar with regulation side.
Yes and no. Because ultimately, we are creating a solution and access to people to bank accounts to use for whatever needs that they need to use it for. Whether they need to report their tax or report their statements to their countries, it's up to them. But for us, we create a solution connecting them to the bank accounts. For example, let's say if you have a property, right? And you are actually renting it out through Airbnb. If you are in a country that don't require you to file the tax or file the profits that you made from this rental, nothing is going to happen. But if the country that you're living in, or maybe your nationality requires you to do so, it's individual job to take your necessary action to prevent yourself from making any unnecessary crime or maybe regulatory problems. So we have created a solution where we give access to people in Europe to use our solutions. We have full features and functions for people who need their statements to do their reporting to do so. So I would say we are more of a technical provider, like an infrastructure provider, to provide the companies or maybe technology companies to provide them with solutions to make it more efficient.
Yeah, that makes sense. So like, one final question about Bittap. So, you've chosen patient capital instead of aggressively chasing venture funding. Like, why was that the right decision for Bittap?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Because from when I was doing the research, you mentioned you're doing more patient capital rather than aggressive chasing for the yield or venture funding. Why do you think this is the right decision for the company?
Well, because we started off, we tried fundraising in year 2. I believe it was 2024 to 2025. We were trying to fundraise. We realized that the business model that we are doing is actually still, we are the first mover with the industry and the product that we have built. So a lot of people have a lot of doubts and questions. What if? So because we already started generating revenue with the partnerships and the 40 white labels that we have decent revenue every month in terms of loading volume and transactions. So that's where we actually decided to let's focus instead of trying to actively find investors to try to explain to them the vision. Let's just make it work. Let's just focus on what we do best. We build, we push, we get more revenue. And then investors will follow. And I believe that has proven time and time again in the last 12 months, I would say, that we made the best decision ever. Because right now, yes, we are actually doing a fundraise now for expansion because we actually open a private bank in Luxembourg very soon. And also we managed to secure big government projects, for example, in Ghana, in Pakistan, and probably also in Japan. All this require a lot of resources. And that's where now we are not chasing investments to figure shit out. We are requiring funding for expansion to fulfill the projects that we have already secured. So the positioning is completely different now. It's not trying to fund the dream. It is trying to fund the projects we have already secured before we were even funded. So that gives investors the need and the want to come on board this rocket that's already flying.
So, looking ahead 3 to 5 years, where do you see Biptap, or maybe even the broader industry is going?
I would say right now the direction that we're going is very governmental level and infrastructure level already. We have the proof of concept, we have the users, we have the 40 white labels to back that we know what we're doing. So right now we are focusing a lot on providing central banks, providing country governments with our infrastructure to prop into their countries. Because the problem with banking nowadays in the whole world is still very fragmented, even within the region itself, especially like countries like UAE, right? Bahrain, Qatar, Abu Dhabi, Saudi, Dubai, they're all so fragmented. They have banks from different countries, currencies from different countries, and they have completely no link to any of them. So the angle and the direction that we're going is actually providing countries and regions and infrastructure that is neutral, that can connect all these central banks together and banks together without huge security risk, without having to build inside their bank. So this whole infrastructure we've been spending so much time building because of the setbacks that we had, trying to build with the banks that couldn't give us access to very sensitive information. So, all these setbacks actually created, giving us opportunity to build something that now we realize the whole world needs. So, yes, this is the direction that we're going right now. Government projects and more central banks.
Yes, I like that. But unfortunately, we are towards the end of the interview today. So, one final question for you, Jonathan. After everything you've been through, from gangs and prison to Forbes, best-selling author and building Biptap right now, what is the one thing you want viewers of Roxham TV to remember your story?
Oof, I have so many things to say, but I think the one thing that really taught me all the lessons I need is rock bottom is not the end. Rock bottom is the beginning. For anyone who is going through whatever darkness or whatever problems you have in your life, use it as a strength to push forward, because everything happens for a reason. You just have to find what reason it is.
I like that. That was really beautiful. And Jonathan, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I really enjoyed the conversation. I think your story is a powerful reminder that no matter how bad things get, your past doesn't have to define your future. So, from spending 3 years in Thai prison to rebuilding your life, becoming a bestseller author, making the Forbes 40 under 40, and now building Biptap, like it's been a very incredible journey. I just want to say that again. We really appreciate you sharing it with us and on Roxham TV. And as for viewers, like everyone is watching here, if you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure you go follow Jonathan on X and keep up with everything he's building on Biptap. And thank you guys for hanging out with us today. As always, I'm live here Monday through Friday at 3 a.m. Eastern Time, right here at Roxham TV, covering Bitcoin, macro, AI, and the biggest stories happening in the market. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe and give the video a like and turn on notification bell so you don't miss any future interviews and market updates. Thank you guys again for watching. I hope you guys have a great weekend and I'll see you guys next week on Roxham.